Dhirubhai Hirachand Ambani, known to the world as Dhirubhai Ambani, was born on December 28, 1932, in a tiny village called Chorwad in Gujarat, India. His father was a school teacher. His family was lower middle class. In their world, the ceiling was low. You grew up, you worked a modest job, you survived. That was the plan. That was what everyone expected. But Dhirubhai was not like everyone else. From childhood, he had a gift that no school could teach: the ability to see opportunity where others saw nothing. When he was just a young teenager, he would buy snacks in bulk and sell them to pilgrims visiting religious festivals. While other kids played, Dhirubhai was calculating profit margins. He wasn't studying business, he was business. But opportunity in that small village was limited, and Dhirubhai knew it. He needed a bigger stage. He needed the world. So at just 16 years old, he packed his bags and left. In 1948, Dhirubhai moved to Aden, Yemen, what was then a British colony, to work for a trading company called A. Bessa & Company. He started as a gas station attendant, filling up fuel tanks for strangers. Let that sink in for a moment. The man who would one day build refineries that processed millions of barrels of oil per day started his career pumping gas. But Dhirubhai never saw any job as beneath him. He saw every job as a classroom. He watched, he listened. He learned how trade worked, how money moved, how relationships built empires. He worked harder than anyone around him. He was promoted quickly. By his early 20s, he was managing an entire trading operation. Aden gave him something that no university could: real-world business education in one of the most competitive trading environments on earth. He saved every penny. He studied every deal. He built connections. And then, in 1958, at age 26, he came back to India with almost nothing in his pocket, but everything in his mind. When Dhirubhai returned to India, he moved to Bombay, now Mumbai, India's financial capital. He started a small trading company called Reliance Commercial Corporation with a starting capital of just 15,000 Indian rupees, roughly $1,800 in today's money. His office, a tiny room barely big enough for a desk and a phone. His staff, just 2 employees. His resources, 0 industry connections, 0 government support, 0 family wealth. But what he had was something money can't buy: absolute, unshakable confidence in his own vision. He began trading in spices and yarn. He would personally walk the docks of Mumbai, negotiating with traders, building trust, making deals. While bigger companies dismissed him as a small-time nobody, Dhirubhai was learning the pulse of the Indian market. He saw something nobody else was paying attention to. India's textile industry was exploding, and nobody was making affordable, high-quality synthetic fabric for the common man. That was his door, and he kicked it wide open. In the 1960s, Dhirubhai pivoted from trading into manufacturing. He set up a textile mill in Naroda, near Ahmedabad. His fabric brand was called Vimal, and he decided to market it directly to the middle-class Indian consumer. This was unheard of at the time. Every established textile company sold through distributors. Nobody went directly to the people. It was considered risky, expensive, and crazy. Dhirubhai did it anyway. He launched massive advertising campaigns. He put up billboards. He ran promotions. He treated middle-class Indian families, people who had never been seen as premium customers before, as his most important audience. The result? Vimal became a household name across all of India. Ordinary Indian families, teachers, farmers, factory workers were buying Reliance fabric and feeling proud of it. Dhirubhai had done something revolutionary. He made quality accessible and made the common man feel valued. The textile business exploded. Revenue grew. The company expanded. But Dhirubhai was just getting started. In 1977, Dhirubhai Ambani did something that permanently changed India's financial landscape. He took Reliance Industries public, meaning he sold shares of his company to regular Indian citizens. This was not unusual in other countries, but in India the stock market was seen as a place only for the wealthy elite. Regular people simply didn't invest. Dhirubhai changed that. He traveled across India. He held public shareholder meetings that looked more like massive rallies, thousands of ordinary Indians filling stadiums to hear him speak about owning a piece of the future. He made the stock market feel like something that belonged to everyone. Over 58,000 investors bought Reliance shares in its first public offering. For the first time in Indian history, the middle class became shareholders. Farmers, shopkeepers, school teachers, they all owned a piece of Reliance. And when those shares grew in value, thousands of ordinary families became wealthy. Dhirubhai Ambani didn't just build a company, he democratized wealth in India. He gave regular people access to financial growth that had always been reserved for the elite. This was not just business genius. This was social revolution. Here is where the story gets even more extraordinary. By the 1980s, Reliance was so powerful that it made governments uncomfortable. India's industrial licensing system, a deeply corrupt bureaucratic nightmare, was designed to protect old, established business families. It was not built for someone like Dhirubhai Ambani, a self-made man who played by his own rules. Powerful enemies tried to destroy him. Government officials put legal obstacles in his way. Competitors paid journalists to write negative stories about Reliance. There were tax investigations, import duty controversies, and political pressures designed to crush the company. Dhirubhai fought back with everything he had. He hired the best legal minds in India. He built political relationships across party lines. He lobbied aggressively and intelligently. He was never passive, never a victim. When competitors tried to trigger a run on Reliance's stock, secretly borrowing shares to drive the price down and destroy investor confidence, Dhirubhai personally stepped in and bought shares in massive quantities to stabilize the price. He absorbed the attack, he turned it around, he came out stronger. One of his most famous quotes captures this perfectly. Between my past, the present, and the future, there is one common factor: relationship and trust. This is the foundation of our growth. He didn't just survive the attacks, he used them to prove that Reliance was untouchable. Through the 1980s and 1990s, Dhirubhai Ambani expanded Reliance at a speed that left the entire business world speechless. He moved from textiles into petrochemicals, then into refining, then into telecommunications, energy, and infrastructure. At every step, people said he was dreaming too big. At every step, he proved them wrong. His most iconic achievement was the Jamnagar refinery in Gujarat, the single largest oil refinery in the world, capable of processing over 1.2 million barrels of crude oil per day. This was not built by some oil-rich government. This was built by a man who once pumped gas for a living. He recruited India's top engineers and managers. He gave them impossible targets. He inspired them to believe those targets were achievable. And then they achieved them. By 2002, Reliance Industries was generating revenues equal to 5% of India's entire GDP. The company paid more taxes than almost any other private corporation in the country, from 15,000 Indian rupees to a $20 billion empire. Station in Yemen to the largest refinery on earth. What made Dhirubhai Ambani different from every other entrepreneur of his generation wasn't luck. It wasn't connections. It wasn't a prestigious degree. It was mindset. He thought in decades, not days. While competitors focused on quarterly profits, Dhirubhai planned 20 years ahead. Every move was a setup for the next 10 moves. He bet on people others ignored. He hired brilliant young minds and gave them freedom. He trusted talent over titles. He made ordinary people part of his story. Whether it was middle-class textile buyers or small-town investors, Dhirubhai always saw the power of the masses. He understood that real wealth comes from serving millions, not just the elite few. He refused to accept limits. Every impossible obstacle was just a problem waiting for a creative solution. He never accepted the ceiling others put over his head. He was comfortable with risk when others were paralyzed by fear. He took calculated, intelligent risks and he committed to them fully. On July 6, 2002, Dhirubhai Ambani passed away after suffering a stroke. He was 69 years old. India mourned like it had lost a national hero because it had. His sons Mukesh Ambani and Anil Ambani inherited the empire. Today, Mukesh Ambani, with a net worth exceeding $80 billion, is one of the wealthiest people on the planet. His company Jio single-handedly revolutionized India's telecom industry, giving hundreds of millions of Indians access to affordable smartphones and internet. That revolution has Dhirubhai's fingerprints all over it, because Dhirubhai always believed that technology, opportunity, and wealth should not be exclusive. They should belong to everyone. In a world obsessed with shortcuts, overnight success, and viral fame, Dhirubhai Ambani's story is a reminder of what real success looks like. It's not glamorous, it's not instant, it doesn't come with a guarantee, It comes from showing up every single day when everything around you says to quit. It comes from seeing doors that nobody else can see and then building those doors yourself when they don't exist. It comes from serving people at a scale so massive that your personal success becomes their success too. Dhirubhai Ambani didn't just win for himself. He won for every middle-class family in India that bought his fabric and felt dignified. For every small investor who bought Reliance shares and watched their savings grow. For every young engineer who joined Reliance and built something they never thought possible. He proved in the most powerful way imaginable that where you start does not determine where you finish. The only question that matters is, how big are you willing?